Man, it looks like we're live. And welcome to iProtest. This is Donald Jeffries here, coming to you from just outside the swamp infested Washington, D.C., as we do every Friday at this time from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. We are supposed to have Sheriff Richard Mack back with us. I don't see him yet, and I've been texting and emailing, and so we'll see. So he may or may not jump in here. But in the meantime, there's obviously a lot to talk about. I see lots of people in the chat already. Good to see everybody. Obviously, with the shooting of Charlie Kirk the other day. Lots to talk about. In the second half, or when I know when Sheriff Mack usually stays an hour, I'm going to try out the thing with the link and give you guys a chance to come on the show as kind of video calls. But I got to say before we do that, though, and I was talking to Tony about this, because there's some language that shows up in the chat room sometimes, and we can't have that. So we don't want any real pejorative language and racial slurs and all that stuff. We don't need that. We can make our points without doing that. So when we do that, just keep it clean. But so we say lots of it. My friend Vince Agnelli's in the chat, Karen Carpenter, Deborah Wheeler, of course, Brian Taylor, and Peter Seacash. Good to see you guys here. So I guess we'll just start out, and then if Sheriff Mack comes, we're going to put him on. So it'll be an interruption of our chat, but we'll go with that right now. So the big story, well, first of all, I'm going to tell you guys what I did yesterday. I'll be writing about it, and I'll be posting pictures probably up on Substack and everything, but I got to go to the 9/11 conference, Turning the Tide conference in Washington, D.C. yesterday, which was really interesting. I get to re-see my old friend Richard Gage, who runs that, doing a great job now. He's drawing some big names. So Tucker Carlson was supposed to be there. Okay, Sheriff Mack is here. Okay, cool.
I just
found how you doing? How you doing?
Right when I told you I couldn't find it, I found it.
Well, I can see. I know your wife wasn't directly involved, so you're kind of like me. I guess sometimes you need a guiding hand. I know that happens to me a lot. Sheriff Richard Mack obviously has been a guest on the show before. Wonderful man, and it's great to have you back. We were just going to start talking about, I guess, the big story in everyone's mind is the shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that, just to begin with?
Well, it's I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over because I've been on about 5 shows today about that. But just so everyone knows a little bit about my background, I started as a peace officer in Utah, in Utah Valley, in Utah County. I was with Provo Police Department for 12 years. And I actually was working my way through college as a part-time meter maid. Now, there's an official term for meter maid, and it's parking enforcement cadet. You're not really a cop; you're just a cadet, and you're not trained in anything except how to mark tires and then write tickets. But so I know this area very well. 3 of my kids actually went to college at that school. My daughter Lucy, my oldest daughter, actually graduated and got a master's degree at that college. Back then, it was Utah Valley College or Utah Valley State, and so I know the area. I know Governor Cox pretty well, and I know Sheriff Mike Smith, who was on with Fox. He was on the big press conference, not just on Fox, but every international network and all the mainstream networks, obviously. I've been in the Utah County Jail several times, not because I was arrested, but because I was there on business. And I know the jail system. I know the court system. And one thing I would tell Governor Cox, yes, the state of Utah still has a capital punishment law, but it hasn't been used, and it wasn't used for a long time until Gary Gilmore killed a couple of students there in 1976 or so. And he had to ask to be executed, and he was.
Yeah.
But he literally believed in a reincarnation, so he wanted to get executed so he can come back and be with his girlfriend. But be that as it may, I've had a lot of experience with all of this, and not only that, but I also spoke with our CSPOA, our Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, our national director, CEO, is Sam Bushman, and he does a radio show as well. And it just so happened that his nephew was at the event that Charlie Kirk did 2 days ago at UVU. So we've interviewed him extensively, and I talked to him extensively. And his greatest astonishment was that he and his friend walked into that area where Charlie Kirk was holding his event, and it was they were only about a half hour early, and he said there was no security. There were no security checkpoints at all. He never even saw a police officer until about he had been there about an hour. Turned out he found out there were only 6 peace officers there. And there's no way to tell how many peace officers you need for an event until you see the crowd yourself. However, in preparing for such an event, you had to know that this was Charlie Kirk, and he gets 5 to 10,000, and he gets huge crowds all over this country. And in the state of Utah, which is one of the most conservative states in the entire country, and Utah County, one of the most conservative counties anywhere in the country, that they might be getting a few people. And so by law, you have to have, if there's 2,000 or 3,000, you have to have an ambulance and EMTs. There were none. There were none. This kid that we were talking to is an EMT, but he was not on duty. He just went because he was a fan of Charlie Kirk. He saw Charlie get shot. He saw where it hit Charlie, and he knew that Charlie was not going to survive. And as a matter of fact, I asked him, how quick were people with him? And was he put in an ambulance or a police car or what? He says he was put in a private vehicle, whether it belonged to Charlie Kirk's security, we don't know. And they immediately took him to the closest hospital. And it was one of the smaller hospitals in Utah County. It was Timpanogos Medical Center. And the biggest hospital would have been Utah Valley Hospital in Provo, which would have taken them about 20 minutes to get there. But regardless, anybody that knows anything about what happened there believes that Charlie Kirk was DOA. He was already dead on arrival. But of course, they tried all sorts of revival tactics to no avail, and then they pronounced him dead about an hour later. But after talking with this kid that is, again, I call him a kid, but yeah, he's only like 25. He's an EMT, and he said what everybody else who watched the video of the shooting and the blood splatter from the throat, he said there's no way he survived. And so this was even before they announced that he was dead, so that we got to talk to him. So I know it's easy to play armchair quarterback, Monday armchair quarterback, and complain, but this was some of the look. If his security team didn't meet with the campus police and Orem police and the Utah County Sheriff's Office, I would be very surprised. And some reports, just on the show I just did 10 minutes ago, they said that he had a vest on, and that the bullet ricocheted off his vest and hit his throat. I don't believe he had a vest on. Look, I've worn a vest for 15 years. We're talking about a ballistic vest here. When he's out in front of everybody and he's throwing those hats, he had no vest on. That was a T-shirt. It was a tight-fitting T-shirt. You could see that a vest was on. Usually if you're wearing a vest, you have a full shirt on, like the best shirt to wear one is a Hawaiian shirt. They're full. You don't see what's underneath. You could fit anything underneath there. But this shirt was a white T-shirt that he was wearing, said freedom across the front. I didn't see anything that came even close to looking like a vest. I don't believe he had a vest. And the vest wouldn't ricochet up that way anyway, be almost impossible. So I think somebody's been watching too much TV or something on that. But regardless, If he had a vest, that means he heard that there's threats, and he's been getting threats, and he should be wearing a vest. And an assassin, somebody who really knew what they were doing, which this kid obviously did not, but a professional assassin, and that's what a lot of people thought it was at first, that this was a professional hit. But first of all, you go just like the police are trained. If you're going to shoot somebody, you go for center of mass. That's right here. That's the chest and torso area. Very rarely do you train to do a headshot unless you believe that the person does have a vest. Now, I'm sorry, I'm expecting a call from Washington, D.C., and this might be it. I got to check. Stay with me.
Sure, go for it.
Yellow.
Live on air. This could be President Trump. Right. Who knows?
Okay. So anyway, I am expecting a call from Washington, and that wasn't it. So it looked like it was it. But anyway, but what was your question?
No, well, I was to say, we're talking about you said there wasn't much security there and everything else. I've watched. I'm no expert on Charlie Kirk, but I've certainly watched what was his routine.
You had to know there would be a big crowd. You had to know.
Well, I mean, just the way his routine was exactly what he did here. He would set something up. He would challenge the college students. Most of them were antagonistic. I'm kind of surprised he wasn't attacked before, but you would think there would be a lot of security there because of that. Because I would think they'd be on high alert for that. But you're saying
there were protesters there, and there were some of the protesters that were against him that actually cheered when he was shot.
Yeah, well, that's to me. That's
again, I can't believe that despicable people like that even exist.
Well, have you been watching? And I've run into it online because again, I liked some things about Charlie Kirk. I didn't know that much about him, but I don't care who he was. If it had been Joy Reid, I'm not going to celebrate her getting assassinated. But these people. There's so many people online and on TikTok that are putting video of themselves out there, identifying that are giddy about this, that are rejoicing. And I said, this is no matter what even if you're not a Christian, that's just bad for your soul. It's not bad.
Who are people like that? Who are you that you could do something like that? That you don't have normal feelings and normal compassion, and say just what you just said. I don't want anybody murdered. I don't want anybody beat up in the streets. I don't want anybody stabbed on a subway or a bus. I don't want any of that for anyone. I don't care who you are. And I never committed an act of violence in 20 years of law enforcement. I never beat up another human being. And anybody that desires to do that, I wonder who you are. You walk by somebody because they're a different color than you, and you just slug them in the head right then, walking by. No, where have we come from? And why does that exist? I want somebody to really tell me. Let's figure out, why does that exist? Because that's what everybody's asking now. And of course, the Democrats are blaming the Republicans, and Republicans are blaming the Democrats.
Yeah.
And the corrupt public officials on both sides, I think, do bear some responsibility to an extent. But we've got to look at other things too, like social media. How do we allow our citizens to be on social media 5 or 6 hours a day? I have a daughter and son-in-law who don't allow their kids to do any social media. And I say, God bless them. What smart parents they are.
Yeah, they're amazing if they can get their kids away from social media, because that's where people live now. And I was trying to explain. I have a much older sister. I was having lunch with her today, and
they never allowed it to begin with.
Yeah, she has no idea about it online or anything, which is where I live. I'm in this cyber world all the time, and she didn't know who Charlie Kirk was. And I said, understand, older people like that, they don't know who Charlie Kirk is because he didn't really have a TV presence. He was on Fox News sometimes, but I said, he had way more fans than like Rachel Maddow or any people you might watch on TV. He had lots more people, but they don't understand that world. They're looking at the television and they don't see him there. They don't know who he is, but there's so many questions about this story. We're going to be talking to it later in the second hour if you're gone. But one thing I found, having studied the JFK assassination for so long, is that whoever the assassin was, of course, I'm dubious about this guy. I'm always dubious about whoever it is that they choose as the alleged shooter. Dumped his rifle and wrapped it up in a towel or something, and threw it in bushes. And that's exactly what they claim Oswald did when he didn't do it, but they claimed he fired at General Walker before the
Yeah.
assassination. And then he threw it kind like it's not going to be discovered there. I mean, what do you think? To me, the story is full of holes, and people, when you look at authorities have already said he acted alone. And they always, in America, they always act alone. And
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like a genuflection.
They
Well, he
know
acted
that
alone.
within the first hour. For some
Yeah,
reason,
yeah.
they know that within the first hour. But yeah, I'll admit Oswald didn't act alone because he never pulled the trigger that day.
No, of course
How
not.
about that?
No, of course not. Exactly.
Uh,
And they're
Yeah,
they're patsies and all these things.
so you kill the president. You do this all by yourself. The most sophisticated and amazing historic assassination in the history of our country. And then what do? You go home, get a pistol, kill a cop, and go to a movie.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And the same thing. James Earl Ray, supposedly shoots at Martin Luther King and leaves. I mean, I'm sure as a cop, you would love to have discovered this. And it left items all tying, himself to the crime in a doorway before he disappeared and then fled under another identity before they caught him for a while. It took a couple months, but it's ridiculous. What is the point of that? And especially if
Yeah.
you're not going to claim credit for it, like I told in the case of Oswald, he wanted to be somebody. Well, he denied it constantly. Same thing with Sirhan. He consistently said, "I don't remember." So
Yeah.
if you're trying to claim credit for you, then why would you not? I don't know what this guy is going to do. What's unusual is that he's not dead.
Yeah.
Unlike the guy in Pennsylvania was.
Well, you mentioned him a minute ago, James Earl Ray, who supposedly killed Martin Luther King.
Yes.
Well, Dexter, his son,
Yes.
Dr. King's son, went into the prison and spoke with
Yes.
James Earl Ray, and he came out and he said, "That man did not kill my father." No, so now we have Martin Luther King's family,
Yes.
the conspiracy theorists, because they blamed the federal government, and they blamed specifically J. Edgar Hoover. And yet that family has never been blasted as being a bunch of kook right-wing conspiracy theorists. And why? Because it was Dr. King's family. And so, yeah, there's a lot of crazy things. But do you know that James Earl Ray recanted his confession and asked for a trial? And who denied him the trial? Our government.
That's absolutely.
Government said, "Oh no, you can't recant. Sorry. Once you step on home plate and say King's X, then no, sorry." Why?
To their
not
eternal
give him a trial?
Exactly, and to their eternal credit, and unlike the Kennedy family, who I love, but they have not been profiles in courage until RFK Jr. now, who's talking out about it, but the rest of them never did. But the King family, Coretta Scott King, was old, and she traveled across state lines to testify for James Earl Ray for him to get a new trial. And you said Dexter King many times visited him in prison and looked. He said, "I want to look him in the eye." RFK Jr. would later do the same thing with Sirhan. He would visit him in prison, and of course, the rest of his family thought he was nuts, but he said, "No, I don't think he did it." And I don't know what we're going to get here, but what's unusual is that most of these cases, and this goes for school shooters too, most of the time they're usually shot at the scene or killed themselves or something, so they can't be questioned. And Thomas Crooks, obviously in Pennsylvania, very conveniently so he's just tons of questions there. This case, we have whoever they claim this guy is, he's alive, so it'll be interesting to see who. But I don't think anybody will be able to get at him to question him, and what we know of him, he's a sheriff's prison guard's son or something, isn't he? Or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I never found out. I never determined who his father actually works for, what agency he works for, but he's in some sort of law enforcement or corrections. But I really take my hat off to them. I really admire them for being honorable. And instead of taking off to Mexico with their son, I really admire them for doing the right thing. I'm sure that had to be very hard and difficult for them to be in that position with their son. But my hat's off to them. To those people, Mr. Robinson, I totally congratulate you, sir. You did the right thing. And God bless you and your family as you proceed through the next months of trying to dissect this whole thing and unpack this whole thing as a family. But most of all, I really admire Charlie Kirk, what he stood for. I was at his event a year and a half, 2 years ago, now almost 2 years ago, in Phoenix, and I shook his hand there. Didn't know him well, but I did watch him a lot on the news and especially YouTube. I watched a lot of his interviews on YouTube.
Yes.
And I thought he was a very outstanding young man and a self-made man. Started at 18 doing this, and I really can't wait. To be honest with you, I really can't wait to when his wife goes public and addresses us all. She's a classy lady, and I can't wait till she tries to hopefully bring us together. And I can't wait to hear from her.
Well,
I know it might be a few weeks, but I'm looking forward to that very much.
well, this is so these things that happen, and the last several of these shootings, and certainly none of them were. There was I don't know, a couple ones where I think the shooter was transgender, and ironically, if you've seen footage, that's what Charlie Kirk was talking about when he was shot. He was talking about transgender shooters or something,
Yeah,
and then he was shot. Yeah, it's
yeah,
very
amazing.
bizarre. But on those shootings, there you would have the right wing would talk about that he was transgender or whatever, and then the left wing would claim he was a Trump supporter. And we're getting the same thing with this guy Robinson, where I saw all these left people. He voted for Trump. He liked Trump. His father was father being a prison guard means nothing. It doesn't say anything about what he was, but he had inscribed all these anti-fascist things on the bullets. It's a new thing about inscribing stuff on bullets too. That's happened in a couple of cases. I never heard of that before, but apparently, he was an admirer of Gavin Newsom. So you have both sides trying to claim the shooter is one particular thing, and there's no consensus
Well,
reached.
he was registered to vote, but he wasn't did not select a party, so he was independent. I don't know if that's how he put it or just no party. I think that's how you do it in Utah, just no party. So look, where he got his information, where he got brainwashed, and where he got so angry about things in life, there could be 100 different ways that happened. It might not even have anything to do with politics or Charlie Kirk, but who knows? And I'm sure we'll find out a lot about that as we go through this together as a country.
People, you see on the word, any word has, he's asking you, can you explain the proper crime scene and body inspection in this case and whether it was done properly or at all? Do you know anything about that, or if there was any?
Well, as far as security goes, yeah, there should have been some body inspections as people entered. And, Disneyland can set up tables before you go into there. Why not this one? Metal detectors are not that difficult, but certainly people should have been checked. And those people could have had an Uzi. Anybody walking in there could have had an Uzi in their backpack, and nobody would have known the difference. Yeah. Look, I am pro-gun as they come. However, when it comes to events like this, I would expect people to be checked. And Charlie Kirk's security team should have made sure that was happening to an extent. And even if you didn't bring in metal detectors, you can certainly look to see if you can look through people's backpacks. Heck, they do that at high schools, so for heaven's sakes, there wasn't any security there. The kid that we interviewed that was there said that he was alarmed by the lack of security there and that there were only 6 police officers. Look, you have to know that a crowd like this would necessitate more than 6 officers. Mm-hmm. And learning from Butler, Pennsylvania, a mere 14 months ago, 16 months ago, you think that they should put an officer up on one of the highest buildings of the university there and look and be watching and maybe take turns and have one officer, to where he's not up there doing it the whole time, have another officer, maybe have a drone flying around, have a helicopter flying around, for heaven's sakes. That would have scared any shooter. A helicopter just buzzing around for an hour, I think that would have prevented the whole thing. But I admit it's easy to play armchair quarterback, Monday armchair quarterback, but some of these are just too simple that should have happened. So I'd like to see what Charlie's team did, and I'd like to see what local law enforcement said about it before.
And Sheriff Mack, with the reason why so many people are so skeptical of all these things is because we've been lied to so many times and said, even in the case, I mean,
Exactly.
all of us, when you take a while to find the suspect, supposedly, and they trot
Yeah.
out and they say he acted alone, I'm going to be dubious right away. And then when you have different sides now because we're so divided, claiming he's either somebody they would not like, or either way they're trying to paint him in the way that, oh, see, I told you he was a Nazi, I told you, whatever. But in this case, there's so many questions. Steve Cameron, great researcher, he said, I heard, I don't know much about this, but a couple of people talk about that he, first of all, he was on the roof, much like they claimed Crooks was, and, was no one watching the roof? I guess not, with 6 police officers. Said, where was the rifle when the roof guy jumped off and ran away? Apparently, there's footage of him jumping off the roof. He doesn't seem to have the rifle, and my Peter Seacott claimed that he disassembled the rifle and put it back together when it was found in the woods. Like, wait, what did you do that? It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
it did look like he was carrying something, but it didn't look like whatever he was carrying could fit all the parts of a rifle. So yeah, that's a key component of all of this evidence, and I would really like to look at that again and see when he jumped off of there what exactly he was carrying. And it was a pretty big drop there. He had about a 15-foot drop there, and so did he hurt himself? It showed earlier that he was limping. But they said that was before the shot. So
Shades of John
I
Wilkes
want to
Booth.
piece all of that together.
Yeah, as Steve said, he was carrying a backpack. So I don't know, but I mean, it's shades of John Wilkes Booth, when he leaped to the stage, and fractured his ankle supposedly, but kind of a dramatic thing. But I guess they couldn't have, unlike in Butler, Pennsylvania, where they certainly should have been watching the roof, especially when you had witnesses trying to alert them, hey, that guy's climbing up the
But
side of the building there.
I got to
Oh,
bring this up where the 14-time convicted felon is on the bus and stabs a girl in front of him and kills her. Uh, if we the system is full of corrupt people, and obviously they should that it has to happen that judges and prosecutors and people that were involved in that have to be held accountable. No more immunity for stupid people in government.
yes, exactly.
No
Yeah,
more immunity. They are as responsible for the murder of that girl as was the suspect.
yeah,
And
yep,
this has got to stop. I mean, Polly Kloss, way back 25 years ago,
sure.
who was in Petaluma, California,
Yeah,
and the guy that killed her at a slumber party, who kidnapped her and killed her, he learned that you need to get rid of the evidence because he was convicted of that before, didn't even serve half his sentence, gets out, and then kills Polly Kloss. So this is the type of thing I'm talking about. When public officials make these life and death situations for us and these decisions for the rest of us, and then they turn around and we become victims. My wife, my daughter, my son becomes victims of these people. I guarantee you, I want some heads to roll when it comes to the public officials that have caused this in the first place.
well, and you're exactly right about that. I mean, how is somebody? But again, you see, because race was involved in. And the left saw race even more than the right did there when it was a black perp and a white man. It's never the other, very seldom the other way around. If it is, it's a national story. But in that case, no motivation. He didn't rape her. He wasn't robbing her. He just, I mean, just talk about irrational.
Just
It
want to
just,
kill somebody.
yeah, just wanted to kill somebody, and saying I got the white girl afterwards. You got CNN saying no, he didn't. Apparently they have video of him saying it, or he's audible. But again, what is disturbing about this, and it's the same thing with the stabbing of the Metcalf, Austin Metcalf, by the black guy. I think that's that, but in the high school, kids, the two where he just stabbed them in the heart over a seat. You had They raised almost $1 million, and you had so many black people going online and just saying basically that he deserved it. The same thing with
Well,
this
and
subway killing. That's how do you fight some kind of that irrational race? I don't know what you would call that, racial solidarity, but it's irrational.
and look at the Idaho murders, and the prosecutors do a deal behind the family's back, and it's supposed to be pretty much required now that the victims' families are involved in that process, and they weren't. And so this whole thing, I mean, is that what Utah's going to do now? Make a deal with this guy so they don't have to spend all this time and money in court? You know, it's just so many things are backwards now. And the bottom line to me is the degradation of our Constitution and of our God-given republic, and that we don't even know that we live in a republic. Everybody says the D word and that we're a democracy. That's a lie. We're not a democracy. We were never intended to be a democracy. The founding fathers of America assailed and were totally scared to death of a democracy. They didn't try to get a new experiment in a democracy. Greece and Rome and other places had completely failed at democracies. So here we are. There's so many facets of all of this that just come boiling down to one thing, that they keep trying to destroy our Constitution and American idealism. And now it's not piecemeal. It's not Fabianistic anymore. It's out bold in our face. And the American people are still not waking up and getting involved. We've got to wake up.
Well, and what I hear, and again, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard some people talking about. I was talking to somebody today that people under the that the right may use this to blow back. I think it was what's the guy's name? The comedian Crowder. I think it was Crowder. Louder with Crowder, who's got a big following. I don't know this, but somebody told me that he's calling for, we have to fight back. We can't take it anymore. And the right is saying so.
What are you going to do there? What are you going to do?
Yeah,
what
that's what I'm
back?
saying.
What does that mean?
Exactly. But when you couple that with, and again, I'm a Trump agnostic, but I understand. You could make a case in terms of DC, because DC until home rule in 1973 was under federal control. So you could make an argument, okay, there's a historical precedent for that he could try to go in and clean. And it certainly looks like he's at least, there's less crime now. I was in DC yesterday for the 9/11 conference, and boy, I've never seen so few cars. I mean, it's like well, it looks completely different. But what I don't like is the trend that next we're going to go into Chicago. We're going to go into Las Vegas, because again, and part of it says, okay, that would help clean up the crime, but you go into the local officials that are letting people out that have, had 14 arrests, like the guy in the train. And I think that's a slippery slope. When you had the federal government, no matter who the president is or anything, when you're going in those cities, that sets a precedent for them just, for federal control of everything. And Republicans shouldn't want that.
No. And you would think that there would be some things that the Republicans and Democrats could work together on, but it's just so divisive there. And it's so corrupt. I am so sick and tired of Washington, D.C. politicians. And I just really wish in fact, I might just be doing this. I'm just not going to send any more money to Washington, D.C. Yeah. Especially that they use our money illegally to fund Planned Parenthood. No, just absolutely crazy. That's one of the most corrupt criminal things I've ever heard of. And Planned Parenthood is a private organization, a private club, and $800 million a year is given to them of our taxpayer dollars. They have nothing to do with our government. They provide no government service. And look, I'm not saying we need to get rid of abortion. My personal opinion is that we should, but I don't believe we're ever going to do that, ever. Right. But we can stop funding an organization that is committing this atrocity, and that we are all forced to participate in that. No,
right, exactly.
That is wrong. That is so immoral and criminal.
When you're forcing people, and that we've always said that no matter what you think about abortion or the issue, that people, because it's an emotional issue, and you've got millions and millions of Americans.
Donate to Planned Parenthood, donate to Planned Parenthood, but don't force me through the color of government law that I have to.
Exactly. No, and that's so. But it's we live in crazy times. I mean, obviously, what are we. And a lot of people, again, in my world especially, we look at when things are happening. We look at the fact that this happened with Charlie Kirk, I think the same day that the vote took place on the Epstein list release. I think, if I'm correct, I don't know if they ever even got two more Republicans to go for it over. So a lot of people, and again, this is why we're all jaded, because we see these things happening, and it's never happens.
And again, right there, let's dissect that one a little bit. If it's Bill Clinton and they want to release the tapes, the Democrats are all against it.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
now it's Trump and he's a Republican. Oh, let's get it all released. And oh, Trump's a liar.
Yeah.
No, don't give me another game plan BS propaganda crap. If it's a principle that we're all in favor of, if it's something that's right, it's right. And Democrats and Republicans, I mean, even when I sued the federal government and I won a case at the U.S. Supreme Court, guess what happened? The 5 Republican justices sided with me. The 4 Democrat justices sided with the Clinton administration. If we're going to play politics with every single issue that comes across our country and faces us as a nation, then who can trust any of that? And I don't.
Yeah.
I do not trust it. I like Trump. I'm glad he's president. I think he saved us from utter destruction by beating Kamala Harris. But we have still, all of us have got to get back to the Constitution. That means every politician in Washington, D.C., including President Trump. And if he and Mike Johnson don't do anything about defunding Planned Parenthood, then I'm going to be against them. And both of them have mentioned it. And now I would have told President Trump, I would help you with deportation. And that's the first thing. Securing our country, providing peace and safety to our nation was the first thing that had to be done. And it's still a lot of work to do there. But our border is secure right now. Now it's time to also secure our money. And DOGE was working, and DOGE said Planned Parenthood gets way too much money. They should get none of our money, nothing. And all this foreign aid needs to stop. All these foreign wars needs to stop. Absolutely. And if we would just make some minor 1 or 2%, as Rand Paul does on a commercial, talks about, we could balance the budget. But both Republicans and Democrats have brought us $37 trillion in debt. And I am tired of the uniparty. And in fact, George Washington warned us that a 2-party system would be the bane of American liberty. Well, it turns out he's looking very prophetic.
Well, he didn't want any parties at all. And that's what
I don't either.
Everything comes down to the partisan politics. And in the Epstein list you mentioned, nothing said, because before, and that's why the Republicans, this is such a public relations disaster, if nothing else, for Trump, because they look so bad. Every Democrat voted for talk about the squad, all the worst ones. I said, why are they the ones that are defending these women? And there's so many of them out there. Ironically, when I'll talk more about that, probably I'm going to have them on a show. But when I was at the 9/11 conference, this woman walked up to me and knows me, which kind of surprised me. But she's another victim of Epstein's.
Yeah.
And she just wanted to talk about it. And she said, I didn't want to participate in that thing in Washington. I guess she's got some issues with it. But so it's so big. It's so much stuff out there for them to give ground to the Democrats on this. It makes no sense. And I understand. I guess they still fell 1 vote short or something. But it's just
Yeah, but look at what all the atrocities and injustice done to President Trump too. I mean, impeached, and then impeached when he wasn't even in office, and then charged with like 50 crimes, and he was found guilty of 30. Martin Luther King was found guilty of 30 crimes. He was arrested over 30 times. In fact, so he did some of the best writings he did from Birmingham County Jail when he stated that all American people should obey just laws. But conversely, he said, we all have a responsibility, moral and legal, to disobey unjust laws. And our nation's law enforcement have no obligation whatsoever to enforce unjust laws and unconstitutional laws. And that's what we teach at CSPOA. So when I saw the January 6th commission, and it consisted of every ardent enemy of President Trump in Washington, D.C., Republican and Democrat. That was worse than anything they ever did under Jim Crow laws. And the Democrat Party said it opposes all those horrible Jim Crow laws. And yet they do that to President Trump. And it was pathetic, and it was a miscarriage of justice. And all of those felonies that he supposedly got, and the crazy unconstitutional violation of the 8th Amendment, excessive fines and bail. That's okay if it's Trump or a Republican. That's okay. Oh, it's okay if you do that to Ammon Bundy, $50 million on a ridiculous defamation suit from the hospital.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's so crazy. There is no justice. It just depends on which party is in charge. And no,
And that's,
it's
you're
too
absolutely
crazy. It's too corrupt, and I have had it with the corruption. And
there's no doubt about it. And all the lawfare that Trump, and again, you don't have to say I'm a Trump agnostic, and the Trump lawfare set horrible precedents because it made it possible for any of us to have a woman come forward 30 years later and not remember the year that we assaulted them, but so we remember the Trump precedent. She didn't
same thing
remember.
with Kavanaugh. Same thing with
Yeah,
Kavanaugh.
right,
And
but
35 years later, you're talking about
yeah,
high school. You're talking about
exactly.
high school.
And
You know,
if you can't remember when it took place, how is somebody supposed to establish an alibi? So you can, and that's what's happening. And then you have things where, and other things, the Stormy Daniels thing. I mean, there's a letter I've published it before that Michael Cohen, before he turned on Trump, as a lawyer, there's a letter from Stormy Daniels that he published on Twitter that talks about how gracious Donald Trump was to her, and he always treated her with respect. And it was like, what?
yeah.
So then they ended up, and then since when rich men have been paying off mistresses for centuries? When did this become a crime? I don't know. And then again, that sets a precedent. And then the one about his assets. I'm still a
Yeah.
licensed realtor. I've never met a homeowner who didn't think his home was worth more than it is. And
But the bigger problem with that is the supposed victims never complained and even testified that he paid him everything back. We don't care what he did.
For him.
Yeah, and they still charge him $500 million.
There was no egregious party. Who's suing the people that they claim to have?
In fact, they don't even have a case if the victims didn't complain.
Exactly. But what they've done is they've established precedents, just like Alex Jones in the Sandy Hook case, the exact same thing. Doesn't matter what you think of Alex Jones, doesn't matter what you think of Sandy Hook. They can say that about anything. They can say that about JFK researchers like me. Well, you're harassing the Kennedy family by bringing this. They can say about 9/11, you're harassing the 9/11 family members by talking about this. So it's just, it's ridiculous, but it is.
It's gone way too far, and weaponizing the justice system, weaponizing police departments, sheriff's offices, and the Justice Department. I mean, how does anybody trust any of that anymore? And I don't. And so I would love to work with Trump. I believe that he is on the right track in a lot of areas. I'm glad as heck that he pardoned the political prisoners from January 6th.
Yes, of course.
Oh my God!
Have you ever talked to Trump? Have you ever had a chance to talk to him?
I never have. No, I never have.
Well, his it would be so much better if people like you weren't his administration, because it's and I understand when I talk about that this is no matter whoever, if a real Sir Galahad came into office, it was nothing but pure motives. This corruption is so intense. What anyone would go up against trying to stop this, it's a gargantuan tax. There's no doubt about it. I mean, because the corruption is so entrenched, and you can see that. Look at what Bobby Kennedy's going through. The senators just screaming at him, and every one of them taking tons of money from big pharma. He's just trying to get junk taken out of the food. He's trying to, stop having so many unnecessary vaccines. They are just crucifying him when he's on there, and it's so sad to see, because it shows the what we're up against.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to belabor all of this, but it's just the biggest problem we face as a country is our own government. It's the greatest threat to our God-given liberties, and we've got to find a solution. And the solution that I came up with was the obvious one. I lived it, and that is county by county. And the people have got to have a place they know they can turn for protection and liberty and safety, and that's the county sheriff. And we take back America county by county. Because look, maybe Trump has a year left to remain in power with both houses on with Republican, and they
Oh, yeah, yeah.
usually do what he wants. So we have the White House, we have the Senate, we have the Congress, and we have the Supreme Court. I don't think that's going to continue past the midterms of 26.
No,
But so they need to get going on this now, and they need to get Planned Parenthood defunded right away. So God bless them as they do that. I pray that they will.
well, let's hope. So what do you? I know you have about 15 minutes left here, but what are you concerned with right now? You talk a lot about Planned Parenthood. What is your main concern now? As
Planned Parenthood is number one on my list, but there's other things going on. The attack at sheriffs, and I work with sheriffs nationwide all the time. Washington State is attacking sheriffs so incredibly. They now removed the sheriff from King County, and he's no longer elected. They stole and destroyed the stewardship of the people to choose their own sheriff, and now he's chosen by a political action committee, and he's appointed. So he's a bureaucrat instead of a servant by, for, and of the people. Remember that Lincoln Gettysburg Address thing about government by and for and of the people?
Okay.
Well, that's what they destroyed in King County, the largest county in all of Washington. They also have the Attorney General there, A.G. Brown, who is suing and going after sheriffs because they helped with deportation. And they said the legislature passed a law saying nobody in the state can help with deportation. The sheriff does not report to you. And that's why we're taking the CSPOA seminar and conference this year to Washington State. And I would ask everyone listening to me right now, go to our website, make a donation so that we can have this conference. We don't have the money for it yet, but we're going to do it the first week in November. And we're praying to God that the resources will be there so that we can do this. We have sheriffs coming in from all over the country that are going to speak, that are going to witness this. We have lots of sheriffs from Washington State going to attend. We're going to invite sheriffs from California and Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, maybe a few from Montana, maybe a few from Arizona. We've got some good sheriffs here still. And we're trying to do one thing, to let the people know that their politicians in Washington State are violating the law and that the sheriff does not answer to them. The sheriff answers to you. His constituents in his county are his boss, and only supervisor. That's what we just don't get in this country. We think Washington should run everything.
Yeah,
Well,
that's it.
no.
Well, explain what this is tied to the Posse Comitatus Act, because I know a lot of people on the right for years have been saying the answer is local, the answer is sheriffs.
It is.
So explain so they have the power, right? They should not be under the control of the federal government at all.
Ever. And that's what I sued on because, folks, where did I put it? This little booklet here, the most powerful little booklet except for the pocket Constitution and a pocket Bible. This is the most powerful 10th Amendment state sovereignty federalism case in the history of our country. And it was the only time in American history where sheriffs sued the federal government. We won. We told the federal government they couldn't tell us what to do. That's what we won on, because we had to remain answerable and accountable to the people who pay our salaries and appoint us. And yes, I call elections appointments. You appoint me. Every 4 years, you review whether or not you want to keep me as your sheriff. And that happened, actually. I lost my third election. But most of it was because I was doing this fight, and it became such a controversy. And I didn't win at the Supreme Court until about 8 months after I lost my race. And that's fine. That's part of it. I signed up for that. Okay, I get that. But ever since then, I've been traveling the country, and I've been to all 50 states, and we do the training now. The American people have got to see this training. Get this book, read it, study it. You can read this in 10 minutes. Look how small it is. It's thin.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got
Mhm.
16 pages. It can fit in your shirt pocket. And you need to read this and then get enough of these. They're $3 each. So you get 3 for $5. Even more orders, cheaper. And look, this is such a valuable, miraculous tool for freedom. Pass this around to your local officials. Make sure your sheriff gets one. And then join us. Join us at cspoa.org. CSP as in Paul, CSPOA, CISPOA, CSPOA.org. Become a member of our posse. It costs $11 a month. I know that's really a whopping fee, but folks, you bless us, we bless you, and we train you to work with your sheriff and how to work with him, how to approach him, how to hand him this, and then ask him, Sheriff, will you keep your oath to uphold and defend the Constitution? Do you consider yourself a constitutional sheriff? What happens if government, as they've done before, especially during Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, what happens if government says, go get the guns from the people? Who's going to stop that? Who's going to defend you? And who's going to take care of the public officials that are going after you? Who will stand in the gap? Who will interpose on your behalf? If that's not the sheriff, you really don't have anybody. So
Well,
again, we
I
take
wish
back America county by county.
I like your idea. I know Vince Agnelli, who wrote the Public Wheel, and he talks about that all the time. But going back to local, but how many sheriffs do you think? And it says you know next to Sheriff Andy Taylor of Mayberry, you're but how many sheriffs across the country? You know these guys, I imagine. How many of them do you think are on board with your line of thinking that really believe this? That believe the kind of
Well,
power they have, and that they should
how
be
many
the
believe and how many do are two different things, because a
right.
national group actually did an article about us, and they did their own poll, and they called about 600 sheriffs nationwide and conducted a poll, and a little over half said they agreed with this, that they agreed that we should be enforcing the Constitution, defending the Constitution, that we have the power and the responsibility to decide what unconstitutional and unjust laws we won't enforce. And in fact, if it is unconstitutional, nobody should enforce it. Can you imagine the opposite? Oh yes, I will enforce all unconstitutional, unjust laws until a court decides we can't. Sometimes they never decide. And we have to just keep abusing the people? Never.
Well, this is
Liberty
what
is
you're
first. That's one thing I want to say. The principles of liberty in America come first, not Supreme Court decisions, not courts, not laws, not statutes, not acts, not corrupt politicians who take money from Big Pharma. The thing that we're after is liberty, protecting the God-given rights of the people we work for. That's first.
Absolutely. And this is right in line with the whole citizens handbook for jurors, the jury nullification
It is.
process. I mean,
I
it's
love
very
that
much the
book.
same. Yeah, yeah. But and that's basically the same kind of concept. As people don't realize, and the last thing any judge wants to see, and as I understand it, they will just throw anybody off a jury that starts talking about that. But they don't want people to, because they don't want jurors to know you can judge the law. You can judge whether the law is just or not.
Exactly.
But most jurors don't know that, do
That
they?
is so true. Well, they're lied to by the judge. He
Yeah.
says that they can only judge the evidence instead of the
Yes.
law in the first place is wrong. Okay. And every one of you, you could tell that judge, I said so, but he'll kick you off the jury if you do. Just say you'll be honest and fair when you're on a jury. We want good people who know what America is to be on juries. Jury nullification is one of the most important checks and balances that we have in this country. And it shows that we, the people, have the final say in every court. We, the people, have the final say. Side with freedom, side with the Constitution, side with liberty, side with America. And you do not have to follow all the instructions of the judge. He's an arbitrator. He just makes sure that everybody's following the rules equally and that both sides are playing fair. That you judge the law, you have every right to do that and a responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And that's again, I think that's, and again, it goes in with what my friend Vince Agnelli says about the public will, because at this point, the public will and you, we have to go back to look, but I'm dubious. I've talked to Vince about this because I don't think they will allow that to happen unless maybe if we get enough people. But the system is it's a we do nothing about it. Obviously, we can't crack this monolithic corruption. But if we start our own, if you can try to take back the school boards, which we don't seem to be able to do, and that's about as low as
Well,
it gets on the here in Fairfax
that's
County.
another one that's been lied to. They'll tell you,
Yeah,
they'll tell their constituents, oh, I have to do whatever the federal government tells me. We have all these federal mandates. No, you don't. You got elected by, for, and of the people, and you're supposed to serve the people and do what's right and tell the
right.
federal government to stay out of it.
No, President Trump runs the executive branch of the federal government, and he had an executive order for to stop all DEI stuff in schools.
In
And
schools.
Fairfax County, my county over here, just voted something like 19-0 to continue gender studies for fourth graders, and so they
Ugh.
completely ignored it. So, and I don't, it's so
Mm.
frustrating. And why can't the voters toss these people out? Why? But if you see these people on school boards, you realize the tyranny starts there. These are tyrants that are on school
Even in
boards.
San Francisco a few years ago, they got rid of corrupt public officials in a recall. You can't tell me that we can't do that in the rest of the country. There must have been no cheating in that one in San Francisco because even liberal San Francisco got rid of these people that were way too woke and way too corrupt. So, folks, that's another thing we have to fix. We have to make sure that our elections are honest and fair. Or how
Well,
do the people really have a voice? And so,
exactly. No, and again at this point, yeah, that's why I say whether it's a Charlie Kirk shooting or anything else, people that they have been lied to so much that at this point they don't believe anything, and I don't
yeah,
blame them. That's why
I
there'll
don't
be all
blame.
kinds of theories about this. I'm not going to discount anything
I'm one
because
of them.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and I know you've got to run, and hopefully Washington does call you, but I got to tell you, if Trump he'll be getting a good man if they should appoint you to something. I don't know what, but you should be in there. But and I hope maybe you can get in Congress or something. But I just
Well,
admire you a lot. You could just
thank you.
you're a good man. You have good principles, and I think that's what we need. And I appreciate you fighting the great fight, and I appreciate you coming on my show. And anything else you
Well,
want to?
send us a link, and we'll pass this around. And I thank you for having me. It's time, America. We've got to wake up. We've got to get involved. And like Jefferson said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. That means we
Absolutely,
got to be involved. We got to step up. We can't be standing along the parade cheering anymore. We got to be involved. And it
absolutely.
doesn't take a lot of time. I know everybody's busy, but my wife and I have dedicated our lives to this. We ask you to join us in this holy cause. Go to cspoa.org, cspoa.org, become a member, and become a part of the solution. We are solution oriented.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Sheriff Richard Mack. Doing great work. God bless you, sir. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, okay, Sheriff Richard Mack. So, and again, and I'm reading the chat room, guys. Okay, I know the things there, and when I have Richard Mack on, I understand, or any Trump supporter on. I know my audience. I remain a Trump agnostic, although in recent months I'm slipping a little bit because of his Epstein thing, but I understand that but you got to understand these. You, I have guests that I can get. And I think he's a good, honest man. And he's trying to. Maybe he's a little naive, but I think what he's talking about is exactly right philosophically. And the jury nullification thing is again right philosophically. Can it be done in practice? Well, it would take a strong set of jurors, which is unlikely to get one strong juror, and obviously they would have to overcome the judge because every judge is going to see that, and it's like a red light. Oh no, 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 you don't. But so we have Peter C. Kachini. So lots of things. So what I'm going to do here is because we'll keep talking about Charlie Kirk. I'm going to now. I got to tell you ahead. I was talking to Tony before, and this I'm thinking Chris Buchan especially, but we're going to put this link in the chat, and this is Billy Ray's idea. And see Billy Ray's active in in the chat, and he thinks that Sheriff Mack should be part of the Trump administration. Maybe he will be. But I want you guys to come on. It's the next. See, Deborah Wheeler wants Chris Bucket on. It's the next best thing. It's like having calls. So what I'm doing, I'm going to put this address in the chat. Okay. So this is the link, and what you do is you click on that, and you can come on. You can come on the show basically like a guest, but it's we're gonna treat it like a video call. And I got to say ahead of time, and I'm thinking mainly of Chris. I don't want racial slurs. I don't want. I just because again we want this show to grow, and we can make our points without any of that stuff. So we don't need a whole bunch of cussing. Yeah, I cuss once in a while, but it's okay to do it once in a while. But let's try to make your points, and I know you can make points, and anybody can do it here. So if you want to come on, okay, I'm looking at and Piper Fogel. It's good to see you, and she suggested a guest to me at EM Burlingame or something. He's going to be on next week or something. So I love the fact that that some of you are suggesting guests, and a lot of them have been very good. So we'll have one. And again, I can't wait to. Okay, well, I knew it was going to be Chris that was entering the studio. Okay. All right. I want other people to come on and say, again, this is not going to be a guest, but Chris, we're going to bring you in here and questions or whatever, but let's keep it clean.
Hey, Don, how's it going?
Okay, Chris, how you doing?
All right. Hey, listen, I behaved myself last time, didn't I?
No, you did, but I'm just saying ahead of time because
no, listen, out of respect to you, I totally will behave myself.
Okay, I appreciate that. But and again, I understand you and a lot of people are. This is we're going to have Trump supporters on the show. I mean, that's just the way it is. I can only get so many guests, and a lot of these people come on I don't even know, but I know Sheriff Max is. So what's on your mind?
Well, nothing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole situation with Charlie Kirk, and I'll try and, like I said, I'll watch my P's and Q's and R's.
Okay.
Basically, my thing is, I totally discourage violence. Don't think violence is a good thing. It ultimately doesn't solve anything. But,
right.
One problem that I have with all these, conservatives or, call them cuck-servatives that are all, and Myron Gaines, I mean, I don't understand what's with him. He was like crying his eyes out over this. I mean, I really don't understand where these people are coming from. Look, I'm not happy that the guy died. It's bad. And if anything, it's made a martyr out of him. But, Charlie Kirk was not like a good guy. I mean, Charlie Kirk was a typical, like, phony Republican cuck-servative who exploited people for money and political gain and influence, who promoted. First of all, he denied the USS Liberty incident many times as a quote-unquote conspiracy theory. How America first can you be if you're going to deny that to serve a foreign power that obviously had him in his pocket? The other thing he did that I hated about him was this, his advocating for the Zionists and for Jewish supremacy. And then also, there was another point that I was going to say besides he said basically, if you don't like Jews, you have a mental disease. So you're not allowed to have an opinion that he doesn't like, just like the loony left. And then the other thing that I didn't care for him about primarily was he you know what? I forgot the point. But the main thing was the USS Liberty, and then the mental disease thing. There was one other thing, if I remember, I'll bring it up to you. But that was my big issue with Charlie Kirk. And I think if he was alive, and had he, let's say, attained some sort of political power, because people are saying he was going to be the next president, or in the future he would have been president, I think he would have worked hand in hand gleefully with the FBI and the Mossad to round up every single person that said anything negative about Israel and the Jews, whether it be Myron, who's crying over him, or Lucas Gage, or any of these people. Round them up, round you and me up, and families if need be, and put them into FEMA camps because they criticized the Chosen.
But have you seen, Chris, and people have been saying, I put one of them on Twitter. Apparently he was changing his tune a bit. Like the day before he died, I think it was the day before, right before he died, he put out it's a very where he starts talking about every time you look at these left-wing movements and everything, it's always Jews behind them or something like that. And he had also talked about he had an argument with Megyn Kelly, I think, where he was talking about Israeli influence. So he's had, Karen Carpenter, other people were talking about that too. And they send, Piper Fogel says he was changing his mind. So I don't know, but I've seen video evidence that he at least
I
said
heard
those
that too.
things recently. Yeah. So I don't know what that means, but yeah, I agree with you. You know how I feel about, and that's at the heart of conservatives. The heart of why I call them the stupid party is because they are so devoted to Israel, which it's ridiculous. But and he was that way, and he maybe he still was going to be. With interesting, has Nick Fuentes chimed in on this? Because I know Nick Fuentes
I
is
think
really all over it.
basically, yeah, what Nick said, the usual simp stuff, pray for his family, it's so
Yeah.
terrible and all this. Like I said, I'm not happy that the guy died. And if anything, he was made a martyr. But,
Yep.
this all the time this happens with these people that like he was basically, glorifying, women and children getting bombed in another country that's costing our taxpayer dollars. And this is another problem I have with this American moral high ground stuff, like the sheriff was saying, like, oh, how can anybody be so happy that somebody got killed? Like I said, I'm not saying that I'm happy, but what do you expect when you basically bully people? And this is like in your book, Bullyocracy. This is something I experienced growing up. I was a chubby kid, and then being half Iranian, I never fit in, even though I'm white as a ghost.
Mhm.
But basically, Americans are nasty, bully people in general. They really are. Look,
Well,
sorry but
yeah.
not sorry. They are. And what you have now in this country, thanks to the brainwashing and all the propaganda, you can blame it on the Jews, you can blame it on MK Ultra, all the crazy lunatic media. Basically, you have your two main groups here. You have these lunatic, ignorant, redneck, jack-off Republicans who insist that everybody believe their hypocritical, fake version of Christianity, the Zionist nonsense,
Mhm.
and they'll kick your head in if you just even slightly disagree with them. And they think it's perfectly okay because I remember reading in history class that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Ben Franklin, when they were sitting around framing America, they were talking about, oh yes, oh, and by the way, besides all this freedom stuff, let's make sure that we're going to go out and blow the whole world up for Israel. That's our main function in the world. Okay, and then you've got another group of lunatics, these crazy, screwy, wacko, lunatic Karens who hang out at Starbucks all day preaching for communism while they pay $10 for a latte and make fun of everybody who can't afford one, who want to cut off every little boy's penis and put them in a dress.
Okay,
So
we
you've
got.
got,
Hold on a second. We got BRV coming on here, so we got Billy Ray Billy Ray to add
I'm just here
the
to.
anti-MAGA view. What's going on, Billy Ray?
What's up, buddy? What's up, legend? I'm just here to produce for you. That's all, man. I'm just in the background. That way, you don't have to do it. So just.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, so what we got, guys? And I would like Chris. You're welcome to keep talking, but I would let's get some
I
more.
would love
I
for
would
other
love to
yeah, I
hear.
would love for other people to come on.
Yeah,
I
I
always
would
want to hear
love to.
from other people.
I still want to hear from Deborah Wheeler. I'd love to hear from Piper Fogel. I
Come
mean, those
on,
people
Deborah.
let's step up. I'd like to hear that. But so we'd like to have other people come on and jump on because I love. I see you guys. I mean, I see your names and everything, and I pretty much know your views. I certainly know Chris's views, but I think that I'm going to be my friend Peter Hymans, who he's been on the show before. He was on last year, and he did a lot of great work on the Butler, Pennsylvania thing. And he's already done. He said he's got 8 pages worth of stuff on the Kirk thing. Piper Fogel says she's shy. Ah, come on. You can. We'd love to have you. And
Yeah, I
Christine.
wish more people would join. A lot of people are scared.
Yeah, it is, and it's just. But that's we have to stop being scared because this is one of the main reasons why we're in this situation we're in. And I understand it's Don Leverett says, "Go on, Deborah, and show your face too." Yeah, and Billy Ray wants Piper to go on too. The people want Piper, um, but yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys because I value. I don't know that much about some of you. I know Chris. I know pretty much because he makes his views well known. Oh, Brian. Okay, here we have Brian. Okay, cool. Let's go. This is Brian. Is that Brian Taylor?
Hey, Brian, welcome.
Yes.
How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Hello.
You
Good to
look
see
like
you.
you're
Good to
from
be
my
on.
you look like you're from my era, like you could have been on a rock band. Didn't you have the rock band look? You got the rock band look, brother. Well, good to see you. What's on your mind, Brian?
So with the Charlie Kirk thing, what I've noticed, and it's like the right and the left, they're both like, I don't know, it's just crazy to see how people are being quote unquote radicalized, and they're like, oh, this, that, and the other. But for the most part, they're not like, they don't have the right ideals. Like there's no emphasis on like natural rights and natural law. And so they're getting radicalized and wanting to like basically go, you'd be like, oh, we need more Trump, or we need the Democrats here and there. And it's just like they're going into dead ends rather than focusing on something like natural rights and natural law, and like jury nullification. I think I disagree with the Sheriff Mack on the Trump stuff, but I do think jury nullification is like the best means we have to peel
Yep.
this back, because it doesn't require voting or relying on a politician. It's literally just like the people basically repealing government tyranny themselves, and it's a peaceful way to do it.
And we in effect we have had a form of jury nullification already. I mean, you could look at the OJ trial as jury nullification. We've already had black jurors; they've done it, and I we don't agree with it most of the time, but it shows it can be done. Where they say, I don't care about your law, we don't agree with you, and we're not going to do it. But I mean, but can you get jurors who aren't black, and it's not a racially charged case to do that? I don't know.
Right.
Well, that's also why I always argue that it should be white people and conservatives that should be for defunding the police, because the police don't do anything. They protect criminals and scumbag politicians and all, while the real working class whites and lower middle class whites get to be victims of this shit all the time.
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, Karen Carpenter's kind of joined me. She said StreamYard's blocking her. We'd love to have you on camera. Although you've been on before, Karen. But yeah, no, there's no question. And Brian, tell me, because I don't, I see your name in the chat and everything. How did you come? You're obviously pretty young. How did you come to listen to this show? I mean, have you been awake for a long time, or did you have an epiphany, or what?
Well, I found out about you. I think David Knight interviewed you one time, and that's how I found out about you and your books. But I kind of really started looking into this stuff in 2020 with COVID. Stop it. Because it was just so crazy and it didn't make sense, and that's when I really started looking at all this stuff. And I had already thought like things like 9/11 and stuff was like kind of just like fake and an inside job. But 2020, it was like it seemed like all this stuff was happening that didn't make sense, and it was just a crazy thing to witness.
No, absolutely, and it's great. And I think we talked to Chris before about it, but Chris, I think you told us how long have you been? So Chris, did you ever read my book Bullyocracy? I think you'd like it, because I was a fat
that's what I
kid.
was saying before. Yeah, I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I've skimmed it. But yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's basically what I went through growing up. And
I was an obese kid. Yeah. So it's
same here. And then, but it's just I just saw that with Americans are so self-righteous about trying to tell everybody how to act when they're the biggest friggin' bullies themselves. I mean, Americans barge into other people's countries on the say-so of some crooked politician, kill their women, kill their kids, bomb the place to hell, and then get those people who hate America to come over here as refugees and then act like, well, why should everybody hate us? We're the greatest country in the world. I mean, are you serious right now? And then on top of that, when Americans are not bullying other people, they're bullying each other. So here you've got these two cults of weirdos, these two absolute lunatics. Now, albeit Republicans and conservatives maybe have better values, you could argue, but they're just as crazy and deluded as the wackos on the left. And I think this is my opinion. Sadly, I think they're all going to get out there and kill each other. That's basically what's going to happen. I think that's what they're aiming for, the establishment.
Well, yeah, we'll see if that happens. But I know that, and I don't know if Crowder. Somebody told me Crowder was, and maybe some others, but Crowder has a big audience, was saying we have to. I don't know. I'm sure he wasn't encouraging people to go kill people, but I mean, this is the problem. This has been used. I'm surprised that they are kind of making a martyr out of him. I didn't anticipate that. I mean, he was a big name, but not everybody knew about him.
He was
And
just,
Trump,
he was a grifter, like most of them are, in my opinion. Look, I mean, that's fine that he was telling kids not to be trans. But he was basically all these influencers. They're all grifters, basically.
Yeah, well, he made a lot of money, and he was a loyal Zionist apparently until recently, when maybe he was starting to question it, whether that had anything to do. I don't know, but Trump flying the flags at half mast is ridiculous. But so the right, Mickey, and they, maybe they'll start like they did with Reagan, start naming everything after him, which I think is ridiculous.
Exactly.
But the other thing, the left, again, when you do things, when you dance on people's graves and you say burn in hell, and I've seen them online. Some of them were people that used to support me, and I don't know, it's not good for your soul. Maybe you don't believe in the soul, but I just don't think that's good to do that. Like I said, I wouldn't have celebrated. I didn't celebrate when Henry Kissinger died. Finally, at long last, when he lived to be 100. But I mean, and there's one of the all-time great elite
Well,
criminals. But
I agree with you fundamentally, Don, but this is the thing: is none of this is new. I hear this all the time from people like, "Oh my God, oh it's so heartbreaking." Look, political assassinations that have been around since the dawn of time. Look at what happened to Julius Caesar, and I mean that was an up close killing. The senators were literally covered in his blood, stabbing him on the floor of the Roman Senate. So this is not anything new. And look, you do have a situation, and this is, I think, part of human nature. Basically, this is in their studies. You may be aware of this. Terrible Tim Refat used to talk about this with Rents all the time. There are anthropological studies that show that human beings are basically cursorial. So what do I mean by that? Is roughly 80 to 90% of the population, they basically have, whether you want to say that Madame Blavatsky says that they have no soul, or they just don't have the ability to think, they have no internal dialogue, basically. They don't know how to formulate their own thoughts. They don't know how to think like, hey, what's the best course of action? What kind of ideology should I adhere to? And having been a loser my whole life, I'm basically a pragmatist. I think people basically need a couple of things. You need to have a decent roof over your head. Not everybody needs to live in a big mansion, but everybody needs to have a decent roof over their head. You need to have the ability to pay your bills. Not everybody needs to drive around in a Mercedes, but not everybody should be forced to take the bus either and get stabbed while they're trying to get to their job because they couldn't afford a car because they don't have a college degree, and they should just have some job basically digging ditches or being an Uber driver because they don't have a college degree. Those are all fundamentally things that are wrong with this society. And I think I see this all the time with these Karen types, because this is the latest thing now with these Republicans and conservatives who claim to be all free speech people. Now they want to get everybody fired and doxed everybody who was celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. So as wrong as that may be, what happened to freedom of speech?
You're right.
It's okay for that. Yeah, they're full of shit. They're just as bad as the left.
No, you're right. It's exactly right. There's, and that's why I say it's just a shame, because we are, like I said, something like this shooter. I don't believe for a second this guy is a shooter. And tomorrow on RB Ham's show again, I'll go down the rabbit hole, because it's RB. We've talked a little bit about, there's some questionable aspects to this, like there were to Butler, and so we'll be talking. Okay, we have JR. Who is that? JR, welcome. I'm not sure who you are. What's your name? JR?
He might not be able to connect with StreamYard. That happens sometimes to people.
Okay, yeah, well, he's in here. Okay, well, I'll leave him up there if you want to get Brian, you're sitting there patiently. So what are you thinking about, or what else is on your mind? Because I don't want you to have your
I'd
say.
like to say another point about jury nullification. I believe I listen to Legal Man sometimes. I think you've had him on once, but
yes, I have. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he talked about, there was like a Supreme Court case where like they ruled like, yes, jury nullification is a thing, but you can't tell like the jury about it. So like something like that, I think and so it's like it's really heavily suppressed. But
yeah, because the courtroom is the judge's personal fiefdom. That's the whole thing. It's all open to their interpretation. Same thing with the Constitution. These judges, the Supreme Court, they can interpret things any way they want, and then they get away with it. So it's all bullshit. It's all open to interpretation. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's good. But yeah, it's real crazy to see. I've recently been reading the Anti-Federalists and some of their stuff, and it's really jarring to see how what they predicted is what our government has turned into. And I don't know, I just think like a fundamental shift in people's mindset about government needs to happen in order for things to get better.
Oh, good to see my old friend Jacob. Jacob, you want to jump in? The link is in that. Jacob has been sent. He's a young guy that's he used to give me updates on how hard it is to get a job. Oh, Christine. Okay, great. We got it. Okay. And I guess JR left. Okay, where's Christine? Christine, hi, good to see you.
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can
Hi,
see you.
Christine.
Okay. This is the first time I have ever done this, so I'm kind of nervous. But
Oh,
what
don't
the
be
heck?
nervous. You look
Love
great.
you, Don.
What's going? Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Hey,
What's on your
Don,
mind?
Don, I'm gonna drop out. Thank you for having me. I think my dog needs to go outside, but it was nice
Okay,
talking to you.
brother.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian, you
Nice
gotta
talking to
have
you,
a.
Brian.
Okay, well, I was gonna say he's got to have a guitar in the background. He has to, looking like that. Man, he looks a lot like I did when I was young. I had that kind of hairdo and a beard, and I always had a guitar behind me. Christine, good to see you. So what's on your mind?
Oh, I think I lost my sound.
No, okay, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Good. Okay.
We can, yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
um, I've been listening to you for a long time, Don, like during all the COVID stuff. And I
Wonderful.
first found you when you did an interview with Lisa. I think it's Lisa Bellinger. Was that her name?
Oh, Lisa Belanger. Lisa Belanger.
Yeah, that's how I found you.
Yes.
And I found you
Yes.
because of Six. So I started
Mhm.
listening to Six's show during COVID and all that. And then that's how I found
Yes.
you. I've been listening to you guys ever
Oh, cool.
since.
Well, you have a fan. So, Selena says you're beautiful. You are. How about
Oh,
that?
thank
So-
you.
Oh, good. Ellen Corley, I see here. This is great. Lots of people watching. So, I'm glad that you've listened to me a long time. So, what do you think about what we've been talking about?
I kind of joined the show late. I know you guys were kind of talking about the Charlie Kirk thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that was sad. I used to listen to him a lot, but then I didn't like the whole stance about the Israel stuff, so I kind of
Mm-hmm.
stopped listening to him. But when I found out that happened, it was just it's heartbreaking. It shouldn't happen to anybody, you know.
No, it's terrible. That's the thing I object to. No matter how much because you can't. And I talk about this a lot, but in the '70s, because I'm old, I know these things. And in the '70s, all the public opinion polls at the time, because they just talked about assassinating Castro and everything, and that the CIA had tried. All the public opinion polls were overwhelmingly against the idea of assassinating Hitler, who, of course, is the boogeyman of all time. Now, if you had a poll, I'm sure Chris would agree with that. Probably 95% of the public would say, of course, we should have assassinated him. So they were in
One thing
favor of.
Republicans and Democrats would agree on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ellen Corley is here. Hi, Ellen.
Yes.
How are you? Good to see
Hey.
you, Ellen.
Hi. Yes. This is a new format, huh? This is fun.
Well, thanks to Billy Ray Valentine, who I guess I could have been doing this all along, but I'm technologically inept. Like I said, I need people. Anybody wants to be my people? Come on. So he said, yeah, you can just put the link for the chat in there if you want calls, because I love calls, but these are better. Having video calls are really cool. I used to be on Zach's show, Red Pill 78, and I always loved it when he'd have video calls and you could see the people. So it's very cool. But I've seen you before, so good to see you, Ellen.
Yes,
What
great.
are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm just tuning in, but I'm interested in I've been writing about the assassination the last few hours and reading and writing about it. It is interesting. My theory is that it's the Mossad, like usual. But
Yeah.
so
Well, if you
yeah.
look at some of his recent comments, it's not so crazy maybe to think that, because recently, it had. I found one video where he was talking it sounded very much unlike himself, where he's talking about Jews being behind all the left-wing movements and everything, and he'd argued with Megyn Kelly about Israel. Megyn Kelly is very pro-Israel, like all the Fox News crowd is. But so who knows? But I mean, I think at the very least we're going to be, and I'll be on RB Ham's Beyond the Pale show tonight. So look for that. I'll be promoting it, and we'll be talking a lot about that, because RB is also looking at some of the elements in it that, even more so, I think, if you saw the Ukrainian woman, lots there to question. If you've seen that video, I don't know. I didn't see any blood around the neck. I'm not saying, I hate to say that stuff, but when I see a lot of these things, there was plenty of blood with Charlie Kirk, and it looked real from that angle. But I don't discount anything. So he'll be talking about that more than me. But so
Would they
just be
think
open-minded.
maybe it was fake, you think? Or
Some people
people
say, but you
Wow.
say that about everything now, because it's hard to believe anything that's real. So you question everything, and I'm open to it, certainly. So let me see. Somebody says Movado 242. It says I'm backstage, and you should be able to. Billy Ray, is there a maximum number of people that can come in? She should be able to come in. She should be able to come in, right?
Yeah, I don't see her back here. She
Okay,
should be
try
able to
again.
come in. Like
Try.
I don't know what we want to do moving forward, Don. Do we want one person at a time, or do we want to do? It's up to you. Like the group thing. This is
Yeah,
what.
it probably should be one person at a time. You're right. Yeah, we'll have to go that because now I've
Hey,
I've made
everybody's
it.
not to speak to you, and everybody wants to speak to you, and that's dope.
Yeah.
But right now, there's no whomever said they were back there. I don't see them. So.
Okay. So I don't know Movado, and I say her. I don't know if that's a her or guy, whoever. But try again. But okay, sorry about that. But I want to make sure Christine and Ellen, you get to make your point. So what else? What other issues are on your mind, Christine?
I don't know. It's just a crazy world. I don't know. Everything. I know it's crazy and it's overwhelming, and I just can't make sense of it all. And this whole time, when I woke up with the COVID thing, I've just been trying to find the truth. And I guess I just realized that you're never going to find the truth.
That's what woke you up, huh? So that's because it made you the thought criminal that you are. Because if you're here, you're a thought criminal. Watching this because
That's right.
I'm
We're
one.
all thought criminals here.
Yeah, the thought criminal is here.
With
So
our
it's,
hate speech.
Chris Aguilar, good to see you, Chris. Said please. The name it's called Beyond the Pale. It's with R.B. Ham. He was one of the Canadian truckers, and he'll be on there. And if you help him out if you can too, because he was one of a part of the Canadian convoy, and he was punished severely by Justin Trudeau, and I think they claim he owes $50,000 in fines or some ridiculous thing, where he's not going to be able to, obviously ever to pay that. So please do. So that's, and Ellen obviously has been at this for a while, and her and I, and Ellen, you got my note that when you were talking about the 9/11 conference, I was actually at the conference yesterday. Can't hear you, Ellen. Ellen, we can't hear you. Ellen's mic is muted. It's not. Deborah Wheeler says, "What time? 9 p.m. tomorrow." It'll be on Rumble. If you look on my social media, you'll say, "Ellen, we can't hear you. Your mic must be muted, Ellen."
Ellen is muted. Her mic is muted.
Ellen, your mic is muted. She must not be able to hear me. Oh well. Okay, but at any rate, okay. Well, I like this. This is great. So more people, the more the merrier. Come in, but I probably will, when people come, I'll take some of the off. I want to make sure you guys get to say what you want to say. Chris obviously is always full of. Okay, Dan. Okay, Dan has entered the studio. Okay, we got somebody else. Dan, good to see you.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good. I can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. What's going on?
I was thinking, I always hear about these false flags.
Mhm.
Could this be a false flag? And, we hear about the Mossad thing. Could it be Trump using this as a way to not only get back at Mossad or Israel, because they probably have offended him, and to divert attention from what he does? All the things that he's in right now, like Epstein and whatnot. Sorry, I'm really nervous. I don't know why.
Oh, don't be
But,
nervous at all.
Okay.
No, it's great, and sure. I mean, I don't know when the last time was something happened, a big significant event where lots of people didn't think it was a false flag. So yeah, people are saying it's a false flag, and I'll be talking a little bit about that tomorrow on again RB Ham show. We'll go down that rabbit hole, and again,
I
especially
just
on
think
top
it's.
of the.
Oh,
Go ahead. You just think it's. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think because Donald Trump said, "Oh, we love you, Charlie." It just
Yeah.
makes
Oh
me
yeah.
think, he is such a snake
And he's the first one. He
that
was the first one that
I
announced his
really think
death,
he
and yeah,
probably has something to
definitely.
do with this. Yeah.
Well, it won't
So
surprise
anyway,
me.
that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on, and you made good points. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Let's
Yep.
see here. You got okay. He's good. Steve Cameron says, is just me, or was Kirk's body removed rather quickly from Utah. Is it normal? Send the body to another state so soon? Yeah, I found it odd that Sheriff Mack was talking about his body was taken in a private vehicle. I just would think, as you say, like at concerts and stuff like that, it seems like they usually have some kind of medical personnel in case I don't know, something happens. But at his rallies, because of the nature of that, where he's standing up in front of all these, or sitting up in public in front of all these hostile, often mostly hostile college students who don't agree with him. Uh, this kind of thing, maybe it was predictable that it could happen. If maybe not shooting, but you think maybe they'd rush the stage or something and try to assault him. So you think he'd have plenty of security, and you think maybe they would have EMT there, or maybe an ambulance in case something happened. I don't know. It sounds like if it hit the jugular vein, again, assuming that this is all at face value and there's no, rabbit hole elements, maybe they probably wouldn't have been able to save him, but I would think that, you get back to Sandy Hook, with no EMT personnel were let in the building, why? That's the kind of people question that kind of stuff. Ellen, is your microphone working now? You're still muted. Let me see if I can unmute her. Ellen, you're still muted. I can see the mute button up there.
I'm trying to unmute her and I can't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why she's not catching it. She must not be able to hear us. Can you hear us?
There she
Now I
goes.
can.
There
Can
you
you hear
go.
me? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
now we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
I don't know when I stop. It's one of my great fears of being muted. So I don't know where you cut me off before, but
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I think I like that idea of the false flag, but I think of false flag as by Israel, that they want us to go to war, right? And it's kind of like get us divided so that we that they can increase the police state. This is the Operation Gladio theory that the strategy of tension that was put in 1945 was the idea that there'd be all these false flag attacks and we would just be so afraid and terrorized and freaked out about the other, and the migrants, or that that we would become kind of like a happy fascist country. Fourth Reich,
No, yeah, I mean, it's certainly, and again, but just they can't, because they insist on all these things. They insist on having the lone nut always. It can't even have two lone nuts. It's always one lone nut every single time. Which again, that just never doesn't make sense to me. But they can't get the lone nut straight, because we had the last several shooters. I was reading, left-wing people on social media that are still my friends, or saying, "This is a Trump guy, he's a MAGA, he's Nazi, and all this white supremacist and all this stuff." And then I'll read stuff from the right wing. Well, no, he was actually a transgender and he was transitioning. I don't know what's going on. And in this case, this guy, well, he voted for Trump, but he's a big supporter of Gavin Newsom, and he's got, nobody knows, and we can't get it straight because we're so divided now that Trump, with his fake news stuff, that is going to be his enduring legacy. Because now everybody just says fake news. If you don't like it, it's fake news. And that's what it's, so both sides, they have their own reality. So when they see this, both the left is so invested in everything that happens being perpetrated by somebody they think is a monster, a Nazi, whatever that means, white supremacist, some kind of guy with a MAGA hat. And the right is, wants it to be a multicolored transgender queen, so it's.
I think this is what the intelligence agencies, this is how they've scripted it, that we are at odds. We do hate each other. So I was in advertising and public relations, and when I got to the ad agency, I thought I was going to be saying, here's the ideal tagline because I understand your product and your market. But they were just scripting things when the truth would have been better, But I realized this is the way intelligence, covert operations, that like the Mossad, by way of deception, they're going to, take over the world, that by just lying, like the Ukraine war, they said, oh, in America, they're telling us that, Russia's bad, Ukraine's good, send more money, but then other people are saying, no, Russia's good, Ukraine's Nazi, and Israeli, don't send money. And, either way, they're going to take all our money and we're going to wonder what
But
happened.
Ellen, this is the thing. This is what the average dumbass American who either watches Fox News or watches CNN doesn't think about. How does that benefit the average American who's busting their butt to pay their rent or pay their mortgage and feed their kids? It doesn't. But they go and they go, oh, we got to go get them Ruskies because they's is commies, and we got to go get them Muslims because they's hate our freedom. And then you've got the other lunatics who are like, oh my God, Americans are evil Nazis who are trying to turn the world into beer-bellied football watchers. We have to kill them all. That's what you
Yeah. That's what we've created this. I think they wanted to dumb us down so that they could just take all our money and we'd be, blissfully unaware. And
They've done a good
that's
job
what,
of that.
but that's why we
we
have these shows that we are informing each other, but it should have been organized so that it's just so broken up. I mean, we have all these choices. I can watch you show, or I can go to Jimmy Dore, or but then you wonder there's no consensus, and like if you wanted to run for office, I've been thinking of running for Senate, but it just sounds stupid, and then I was reading about this, that they'll target you, or something. I mean, I think there is a sense if you did get a platform. Did you see the movie Network? You know how the movie Network ends?
Sure.
That's a classic. Yeah.
Right.
Go to the window.
And
right.
they say at the end, well, we'll just have to take him out. That guy that's really, everybody loves him. The ratings are up, and he's going, this world is crazy. It's,
Peter Finch.
Peter Finch, right? But then, Faye Dunaway at the very end says, oh, well, we'll just have to, hire somebody to assassinate him. Or, I think that is really the way our CIA and corporate, executives think, that it's like the CIA has infiltrated into public relations so much that the Fox News people or whatever, or the MSNBC, I think it's mostly through like the Fox News thing, but effect. But but then there is the other side where I hate Fox News, but that's where I used to be. And then now it's just, there's so many choices that how can we influence, rightly, kind of get everybody rightly influenced in a fair and balanced way.
Well, we've got again everybody, and that's why I don't think it's any accident you're hearing more and more woke people, especially, saying my truth. I've got to tell my truth. That's become a new standard thing on the left. Like, no, truth's truth.
Facts and truth are no longer mutually exclusive.
Yes, yeah, and that's what you listen to you. They say it all the time now. It's my truth. No, I'm looking for my truth. No, truth is truth. But the problem is with things being so divided. And again, we're polarized, and that's why I call it the Trumpenstein Project, because of Trump. Trump has divided us completely, and so both sides have their own truth. And so the people on the left, they can think that Trump is the most evil thing they've ever seen, and he's another Hitler, and he's dangerous, he's doing all these horrible things, and people on the
vaccines are safe and effective.
Exactly. But the people on the right can think he's the greatest hero. He's a white hat, and he's George Washington Jr., and he's saving the country. And
God made him turn his head at the last second, so he can save America.
Exactly. And so when you're trying, like some of us, to try to navigate that and try to figure out what is the truth, and to try to say, okay, how do we? That's why I came up with the Trumpenstein Project, because I don't know any other way to define what he is, because he's so contradictory. And just look at the Epstein thing, and this Charlie Kirk thing happened at a very fortuitous time for people that don't want the Epstein list to come out, because it was literally the day I think they were supposed to have the vote on it, and that got lost in the shuffle.
Right.
So I don't know if we'll ever see, maybe they had the vote, but they couldn't understand the power of partisan politics. They couldn't get. They needed 2 more Republican votes, 2, and they couldn't get it. That's from my, my crush Anna Paulina Luna.
Oh, wow. Did she not vote for it? Did she would?
Don't. Yeah, that Trump told them not to, and they didn't. And it's
Oh,
not.
okay.
Because
Yeah.
Trump
Well,
can't convince them to do anything good. So
that's the way, or the APEC lobby, they all got, they're scared. But I think
Hey,
that's why if you don't do what Trump says, that's probably what you mean by the Trumpenstein project. You will, you'll lose the election. You'll be primaried, right? I mean, he was
real quick,
like
real
Matt,
quick.
scary.
yeah,
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you guys hear me?
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's this for everybody that comes on. We have to like take it easy with the right. So let's not like openly say
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Don's
Okay.
show
And
shut
here you thought
down.
I was going to be the troublemaker.
Okay. You
Yeah.
got it. Sorry.
You're being very
Right.
good.
They
I'm
are.
very proud of you, brother. Very nice. And you
Yes.
sound a lot like me. Or I don't know why you give me such a hard time. 256 strong right now. People who have
Yeah.
tuned in. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Don. Continue.
Well,
I
that are in
appreciate
the
it.
back room there, or is that, or just
Oh, no,
watching?
no. Well, that's on YouTube. On YouTube, I don't. There's more people watch this archive because it's Alex Jones' Prison Planet has it over there. I mean, not Prison, but damn Band.video. So I'm one of them. The shows over there that so people. I don't know how many watch it there, but they do. And of course, it gets rerun 2 times, I think, on Jeff Rent's network, who has a bid network too. So that's always good. But so anyway, Christine, you've been waiting there patiently. What else is on your mind?
Oh, nothing. I'm just listening.
Okay, well, it's great to see you people. Dan, anything else on your mind?
Oh, well, I was thinking if we could just get everyone to turn off the TV for like a month, this whole country would turn around. Because I hear people saying all the time, go woke, go broke, like NFL. Well, the NFL, I just saw LeBron James said like 3 words in a commercial. They probably paid him $50 million
Yes, yep.
to
Let's put
do that
conservatives.
commercial. They're not broke because everyone's watching the NFL again. People forget
Oh,
so quickly.
They do, and
That bread and
it's
circus thing is,
yep.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'm
yeah,
not
that
watching.
bread and circus thing is real.
And I
No, it
remember
is.
everybody taking a knee
So-
all the time, and I guess they forgot about that.
Yes, they should. They did, and it looked like maybe they were making. And this is the thing I tell. And again, I'm writing my book about sports. It'll whatever. I'm going to plummet to all-time depths in terms of my social credit score. And I'll set a new record for negative credit score after writing this book. But because nobody has touched this, believe me. But when I said at the time, you've had so many criminals playing, and a guy wrote a book some years ago, and it was called Pros and Cons, and it was about the criminals that play in the NFL or the NBA or something. And it was something like some incredible stat where like 80% of the players in the NBA had a criminal record or something like that. And but this is all about blacks, and so it's got a racial element to it, so it's not talked about. I'm going to talk about it, and the only reason Colin Kaepernick was and the kneeling stuff was a thing is because it was about that flag. It doesn't matter. Every team, you got a guy like Tyreek Hill who just had another domestic abuse thing. He will be welcomed back. And he broke his. Was he the one that broke his? One of them broke their little boy's arms, and it was welcomed right back. I don't know how many of them have punched their pregnant women in their stomach.
I'll tell you a quick true story, Don. 20 years ago, when I
Yeah.
was a casino dealer in Atlantic City, I worked at the worst dump there. It was Bally's Casino. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was Latrell Sprewell at the time. Him and his mother were in the high limit room, like
Yeah.
losing a bunch of money and punching each other in the arm and calling each other the N-bomb. And then one of them got busted for peeing in one of the potted plants. I think it was him. So that's the mentality you're dealing with. And then when I moved on later on, I was working at the Borgata, which is the high end place. It's probably
Yes,
the top
yes.
casino outside of Vegas. We used to have Michael Jordan used to come in there all the time. and he was the nastiest, biggest SOB. He never tipped. He would tip the cocktail waitresses, of course, and try to get them to come spend the night with him. And
Yeah.
he would basically, let's say a dealer was a little chunky or something, he'd be like, "You're too fat, man. You need to go to the gym." Nasty, abusive. People would come up to him. He would tell them to F off and everything. Complete and total creep.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's the reputation he has, and most of these athletes have a horrible reputation. But again, the fans, and I call them drunk white fans. That's what I call them, DWFs, and they make it all possible because they're the ones that enable this because they are just fine with cheering on Tyreek Hill or any people that have multiple arrests. As long as they think they make their team, yeah, let's go. That's us. We're there. They put themselves in the team. But when Colin Kaepernick, who again I don't like, he's a complete phony. But when he knelt, that was it. Oh wait, no, man, you disrespected the flag. The whole world went down on you. Commit all the crimes you want, but you're kneeling at the flag, and that's what Trump got upset. Trump said they should fire them for nothing.
I'd like to add a true story to that. Regarding that is I remember when he knelt, right, or something, or he wouldn't do the flag, and I was kneeling. I'm here with my Chicago Alliance Against Racist Political Oppression and kneeling, but then I'm talking to my Southern father, 97-year-old Republican Georgia father, and he said, "I don't watch football anymore because they put that kind of, these guys don't put the flag up, and I fought in the Navy,"
Right,
and I was
right.
like, but the funny, I go, but that's funny. I'm dealing at it, and he goes, "Oh, I love you, baby," and that's the truth. Is why is he so influenced by his television, and then I'm influenced by this stuff over here, and I think that's the way propaganda works. That's right. We're just being manipulated in this game of propaganda.
And it's you have first of all you have incredible anti-white racism and this will again nobody has touched the subject but me. The conservatives all believe that sports is a meritocracy. No, it is not. And I will have facts and figures to show there's tons of that white men can jump, they can run fast. Mine is the anti-racist position because I don't believe somebody's born an athlete because of the way they look, and I'll prove it if I get a chance to. We'll see who reads it and what platform I have, but when you
the other
have
thing too, Don, is why should guys who are playing a kid's game? This is another problem. It's mostly these conservative types that are for. Why should guys who are playing a kid's game get paid more than money than a heart surgeon to go out and play a kid's game? That's essentially what it amounts to.
Yep.
And I'm not even against sport. Like if you want to play sports, fine, but like there's no reason why a guy who dunks a ball should get $20 million and like a heart surgeon only gets 200,000. Not that I'm saying the heart surgeon deserves the 20 million. I'm just saying this is the values, the trash values that America has bought into, and they wonder why we have such cultural rot and decay.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, and that's one of the these, and that's why even before I looked into the race element, I was a huge sports guy, but baseball was I loved more than anything. But when baseball salaries began to get astronomical, and the majority of the players were white, but it was ridiculous. They didn't remotely deserve them. You can't relate to them at all, and that's why Michael Jordan and people like that. That's why they have the attitude they have to fans because they're made into little demigods. They can't possibly relate to the fans. In the old days, I mean, before I started watching sports, but back in the 50s, and they would have the players would work off-season jobs because they didn't make that much money, and so they were there and they live in the community, and people could relate to them a lot better when they went. But now they are multimillionaires, even players that aren't any good. The average salary, these are players that regardless, and my book will show that a lot of them are affirmative action players that don't belong anywhere near a professional sport, but they're still making millions of dollars, and it doesn't matter. So it's a huge thing, but it's a distraction. It is bread and circuses, and it doesn't, and there's no business model for it. And same thing, I wrote my latest Substack. I wrote about South Park. I didn't get to talk about that much today, but who's if you've guys seen this season, I used to be a big fan of South Park, and I thought it was great satire. But they were paid $1.5 billion. Trey Parker and Matt Stone $1.5 billion for their new contract with Paramount Plus to produce. I think they have maybe 10, 12 episodes a season now. It's not much. 1.5 billion. How
Well,
much
this-
do you mean to tell me that bringing Paramount Plus 1.5? That's not a business model.
Yeah,
But
right.
they suddenly they've gone totally woke when they had they did not they bought the entire COVID thing. All they did is make fun of anti-vaxxers, and now they're going after Trump with a fury. And again, it doesn't matter what you think of Trump. I write all about it in my latest Substack, and people, if you don't subscribe to me, Donald Jeffries at Substack.com, please subscribe to me. There's I protest just like this show. They have an AI image of Trump. I've never seen anything like it. It looks just like Trump because they can do that with AI, and they have him stripped naked, and they eventually have a close-up of his penis.
Oh,
This is on
God.
a cartoon, and they look at it. And again, it's like, you know what? I've never seen any public figure treated because it's one thing to show him as a cartoon, which they've done many times. But it's like, what? How is and Trump, Mr. I sue everybody? He hasn't said one word about it.
What
He hasn't
show is
threatened
this? Is that
South Park?
South Park? I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it was funny. I didn't hear about the
Oh, it
naked
used to be
thing.
funny. Well,
Yeah,
this season it's Colbert, Stephen Colbert, the writers of Saturday Night Live could have written it. It's really
Oh,
lame.
you think
Yeah,
it's
it's gone
lame?
downhill. It's been going
Yeah.
downhill for many years.
I guess my hairdresser said that it's now that they're going after Trump, she's enjoying it, which, because it's interesting, I just try to listen to her, like, what do you think is going on? But I mean, as a marketer, advertiser, it's such, it's the system, right? That actually public relations replaced advertising because with this internet, then I think everything is kind of fake, isn't it? I mean, it seems like there's only one market that like I used to think I'll be a copywriter or I'll be a teacher, but I don't know. I think we're getting distracted like 1984, or by the media is all we have, us looking at our phones. And it's nice to be able to talk to some people interactively. But meanwhile, here in Chicago, they tell us that, oh, Chicago, everybody's killing each other and Trump better send in the police. And we're going, why? What?
Well, maybe
Go
not in your
away.
neighborhood, but yes, Chicago is a crime-ridden hellhole, and so is Baltimore.
I
and
don't
St.
think
Louis.
so. No,
Well,
I don't see. I mean, I've been
maybe not in
involved.
your neighborhood, but
Well,
Tell 'em,
no, I
Melanie. Go
I
get 'em,
work with
Melanie.
these
Tell 'em.
people. Mhm.
You tell them what's up. You tell them what's up. That's not. It's not at all what they're
see,
making.
these are the differences
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
have, Billy. Because I grew up,
You
All
I
tell
grew
them.
up
right.
in New York
Go,
and New Jersey,
baby.
and I
Reality,
know
Ellie.
how
Good
bad
for
it
you. I'm
is.
rooting for you.
Yeah, exactly.
go.
This is the liberal bullshit line, and it's like, oh no, it's not. Then where are all these statistics coming from? Why are the hospitals?
They're
full of
making
all
them
these-
up. They really are.
bullshit.
They're making this. And Trump,
Listen,
they're
I have a
telling
job.
Trump this stuff.
I'm an
Yeah.
insurance agent. I talk to people all over the country. Chicago is a major market. Every day, people tell me how bad it is. This is the problem I have with liberals. You guys just don't live in reality.
Well, I
and you
live
cannot
here.
face-
Where do you live?
Where-
do you?
I
where-
live in South Carolina, in upstate South Carolina. We have crime here
Okay.
too. It's just that we actually
Well,
have guns and we can do something about it.
Well, gosh, that's why
We
they
saw
gave.
how well that turned out this in a couple of days ago, didn't that?
Well,
Like,
that's
how well
something
that
completely
turned-
different. First of all, you're talking about the Charlie Kirk
You
assassination.
saw how well that turned out, my friend.
Well, yeah, because
And-
it's all
and
a
if the
show.
story's
It's all.
true, he came from your side of the political spectrum. He was a loony leftist.
Well, no,
So,
we don't
yeah,
even
exactly.
know. But they.
I know,
see,
I agree
think
with you,
they
we don't
want
know,
us
but-
fighting. See, Donald's
kidding.
going to have to go
No
back
kidding.
to the other format. 'cause
No kidding.
No,
But
no,
this-
no,
this
this
is-
is-
why are so many
Right
people
out of
leaving
the
these
phone.
places? Why are
First
so
of
many
all,
people leaving
hold on.
these big cities if they're such paradises?
First of all, I'm
I
not a
live
loony leftist. I'm not a leftist. I'm not
I'm
a
not either.
conservative. That's for
Yeah.
one. Second, I live in New York City. People die to get in here. Okay, they're paying freaking $5,000 in Manhattan for a closet. All right, people are dying
Yeah.
to get here, and then they're going to claim that this is a war zone, and that they need to move in the National Guard. Chicago is not a war
Yes.
zone. New York is not a war zone. Los Angeles is not a war zone. America is not a war zone.
Yeah.
And you should not, in any way, allow this to happen. Because what that's called is tyranny. What you need to do is get out of this left-right paradigm. You are stuck in the right. You are stuck there, and you want to believe these things.
Actually, I despise
You want to
Republicans and
believe these
conservatives.
things. Don't believe them.
Have you ever driven through downtown Baltimore?
We need
Have
to
you
be
seen what it is?
independent. We need to be independent. They have driven this extremism and
No,
through the media, through a kind of fake
Ellen, let me ask
news.
this: Do you live on the South Side?
I live right in the middle, but I work with the wrongfully convicted and tried to
Okay,
apply to be the police.
white liberal ivory tower stuff. But what I'm saying is,
Well,
how
no,
often
I'm just an independent. I'm thinking of running as a Republican, but yet, either way, they won't let me in because I'm
You're
anti-Semitic.
what? Oh,
They
well,
threw me off because I said I wanted
But what
to
about like places
prosecute
like
the mafia. The Jewish mafia was a problem.
Well,
And
Yeah,
they go,
look at-
so I took out those anti-Semitic words, but it didn't
Texas
matter.
like,
And so
Freddie
that's what I
Gray that
see is
was
that we're
Obama's police
stacked.
officer.
We're
well,
stacked
Chris
with a
is like-
deck that
well,
wants
Chris is
us
like me.
at odds.
Chris and I both feel, and that's why Chris that the police are not the answer. I criticize conservatives all the time for doing so. The problem with what Trump is doing is that this is really crossing a line, and it promises to be, especially if he continues to go in all the cities, because odds are, like I said, when I drove through the with the Uber, I can't drive in DC. Nobody, you can't drive it. They've designed it that way, so you have to Uber there if you don't take Metro. And I've never seen so little traffic in DC. And it was in rush hour. And I don't know, and so apparently Doge did eliminate some jobs because that's what the driver, was an interesting guy. Naturally, and both my drivers are named Muhammad. That's terrible. But he hated America. He knew he could, and I don't know because that's there too. So we had nothing America together. And he was talking about how DC there was nobody in there now, and
Yeah.
but so there you can see maybe there's an evidence that things have been cleaned up, and I think you would see that in Chicago, New York, everywhere else. You would probably see some visible improvement in terms of, well, it doesn't look as bad, but is it worth it? I don't know if it's worth. I don't think it's worth it to have the government
And
come in, the National Guard certainly, for just to clean up because the cities have had crime for a long time. I don't know that.
crime
I
is
don't get
down
the idea.
30%. They know
Yeah.
statistically in all these cities. But I think this is how Trump got elected because on Fox News, they do script this stuff. I knew Betsy McCoy, if you know New York, she was the lieutenant governor, and it's all scripted. So he didn't have to pay for advertising because he was on Fox News 24/7. But yet it's fake news. It's alternative facts, as Kellyanne Conway said, but throwing around, alternative facts as if it's news is really like dangerous to democracy.
It's like everything else. We don't even know the crime. The right says crime's worse. The left says it's down.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, everybody, it's my truth. Everybody has my truth,
Well,
but I don't think the answer ever is, and that's why I've always had problems with going back to Richard Nixon. He was a law and order president. When you say law and order, well, you have to respect the law, and I don't respect all the law at this point because we know we don't have any kind of just law. I don't respect our police because of the policing for profit. So this is a mistake. And
yeah.
after January 6th and all these other things, after the BLM riots in 2020, I don't know why the right would think
Well,
the police were on their sides. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but they still do
well,
that. And
that's
so
the thing. It's the law and order strategy, that the advertising people come in and you saw Wag the Dog, right? They say, we'll just manufacture a little war,
Absolutely. We're running out of time, but Catherine Z has a couple interesting things. Catherine, next time you come on next week, well, because I like this format, although I think I will just do it one at a time, so we kind of don't have too much chaos. But we'll see. But I like this. This is very good. I'm glad Billy Ray came up with it. But all you guys very much appreciate it. A lot of interesting stuff, and we'll have, we'll talk about more of this, and you guys can watch. America Unplugged tomorrow. You can hear me and Billy Ray and Tony Arterburn, and we'll have more discussion of it. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Don.
Ellen.
It was nice.
Corley. Thank you, Den. Thank you, Chris. And do we have somebody else that came and went? I don't know. Yeah, I think we. Oh well, yes, Brian Taylor. Thank you, Brian Taylor. So thanks everybody, and hope to have more from the time. Because I love talking. It's so great to see you, especially to see because I can put a face to. I'm just seeing names on there. So to see people's faces because you all know mine. So it's nice to be able to talk to you. It's a more effective way to communicate. Thanks, everybody. You're muted again, Ellen, but thank you for being on.
Thanks for
Okay,
having
thank
us,
you.
Don. It's always good talking to you, brother.
It's always great talking. Thanks so much, guys. So we'll see you next
Take care,
week
Don.
on I Protest, same time. Take care.
Yep.